This is the Fashionable Citizen Network. Ever wondered about the Fifth Amendment to the United States Constitution? You know, the one that safeguards us against self-incrimination, among other things. Well, let's dive in and unravel its intricacies, shall we? The Fifth Amendment, at its core, is a protector of individual rights, guarding against double jeopardy, self-incrimination, and government seizure of property without just compensation. But like many legal principles, it's not absolute. There are exemptions and violations, and today we're going to explore them. Consider the landmark case of Miranda v. Arizona, 1966. Ernesto Miranda was convicted based on a confession he gave without being informed of his right to remain silent or have an attorney present. The Supreme Court overturned the conviction, ruling that the Fifth Amendment requires law enforcement officers to inform suspects of their rights before interrogating them. This exception to the self-incrimination clause is now famously known as the Miranda rights. On the other hand, we have the case of Salinas v. Texas, 2013. Genoveva Salinas, during a non-custodial interview, voluntarily answered some police questions but remained silent on others. The prosecution used his silence as evidence of guilt. The Supreme Court held that because Salinas failed to expressly invoke his Fifth Amendment rights, his silence could be used against him. This case underscores that the right to remain silent must be verbally invoked to be protected. Now let's discuss the exemption to the double jeopardy clause. In the case of United States v. Felix, 1992, the defendant was charged with both conspiracy to manufacture and distribution of methamphetamine. Felix argued that this was double jeopardy. The Supreme Court disagreed, stating that a conspiracy to commit a crime and the crime itself are separate offenses. This case demonstrates the dual sovereignty doctrine, where a defendant can be tried twice for the same crime, once by the state and once by the federal government. So what happens when these rights are violated? Well, the most common penalty is the exclusionary rule, which bars the prosecution from introducing evidence obtained in violation of the Fifth Amendment. In other words, if the police violate your Fifth Amendment rights, any evidence they gather as a result may be deemed inadmissible in court. To wrap up, the Fifth Amendment is a complex piece of legislation with several exemptions and potential violations. Key takeaways? Always verbally invoke your right to remain silent. Understand that conspiracy and the crime itself are separate offenses, and remember, any evidence obtained in violation of your Fifth Amendment rights may be excluded from the court. So, in the vast labyrinth of the legal world, the Fifth Amendment is your shield protecting your individual rights. But remember, it's not absolute. It has its exceptions, its nuances, and understanding these can make all the difference. After all, knowledge is power.